It's the first thing that everyone hears on the stream is massive schmeat.
Schmeat.
Oh dear, Neptune.
Oh, Neptune.
Oh dear. Rip Bane.
I know.
On this day, Bane died.
Yeah.
Alright, give me a minute. I gotta go grab a Tylenol.
Alright.
Freaking hell. Dev stream time. Been
Dev
a
stream
while.
time.
By a while, I mean it's been the usual
2 weeks, because we're consistent as fuck.
We're consistent with dev streams, but right
Yeah.
now not very consistent on working on the project.
Yeah, even like I've honestly, I was kind of lazy this week, and I had school stuff. I had a test.
We don't expect you to like do twice as much work because, like, me and Fizz have not been doing as much work recently.
I did 2 things of work.
Yeah, you're
Fizz has essentially done as much work as me, like in terms of like actual.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of like content.
I wasn't on about like the past 2 weeks, but I'm just on about past like month or so in general.
Yeah.
Dude, I just been consistent because I'm just used to working on Knuckles stuff, and Knuckles just needs a lot of stuff done. I haven't been trying.
That's just what I'm saying. I'm trying to compliment you. I was trying to.
Well, I'm trying to make sure you don't like put yourself down, dude.
I just know that I haven't done anything.
I didn't even leave for 30 seconds. You guys are already at each other's throats. I swear to God, I can't
It's
fucking do anything.
It's the opposite of that. It's like a Canadian standoff.
Yeah. Sorry about that, eh?
Sorry, eh?
Sorry.
This is the
like that, eh?
This is internal I plus politics. Just sorry.
Sorry. So sorry about not doing as much work, eh?
I'm sorry about the COVID, eh?
Should really get to doing some more work on Infinity Plus, eh? Sorry.
I don't know if I can do that. Sorry.
Sorry.
This is why there's a Canadian viewer watching.
I wonder if we have any, like anyone following Infinity Plus from Canada. That'd be cool.
I'm sorry about making fun out of Canadian, mate. You guys are just so lovable.
It's really kind of a compliment when you think about it. The only thing people can make fun of you is how polite you are, eh?
See?
Of course, I made other.
Sorry.
But I made other small updates, mostly to Knuckles, in terms of the charge effect. Like, I just made it a bit more consistent, and also made so that like it's less likely to like accidentally put you in slow. Yeah, or put you in slow mo when you shouldn't be in slow mo. I added a new gate to it, which will help.
No music, just how I like it.
Yeah, I didn't change that, but I did add a new song.
I know you got new music. Did you ever? Did you have any problems with any of Knuckles' crouching and such? Okay, that's what I thought. Knuckles can crouch.
Can't crouch. Oh, sorry. I temporarily took that out because that code needs to be redone anyway.
What code? What are you talking about? Emmanuel.
Yeah?
What code?
He's trying to ask you a question.
Oh, no, it's just not plugged in.
No, what? God damn it, what code isn't plugged in?
Oh, like, the part in, like, Knuckles is code directly, or I think it's a power pound. I did it a while ago. That the part that, like, goes through and makes sure he's, like, crouching and blocking and all that. I just kind of ripped it out for now.
Alright, because I changed the crouch code to be modular, like all the other face buttons. Like, you know how the jump button, the boost button, the special button, you know? You know how I made all of those modular?
Yeah.
Yeah, the crouch button is also modular now. So that's
okay, that's probably it. I may change slightly how the crouching works in terms of blocking, so I'll probably have to deal with that later. But yeah, whatever. I'm also going to stop streaming for now. In fact, Fizz, maybe you should stream. On Discord.
Maybe Emmanuel should pull out spaghetti.
I just told Twitch on my phone. It's not a big deal. Oh, yeah, that works.
I don't know how much resources Discord takes up whenever I stream on Discord, so I try to not stream on Discord and stream on Twitch and run the project at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
And your 50 million Chrome tabs of things.
Yeah, my 50 million Chrome tabs are totally not the problem.
Exactly. I've got 91 followers on my Twitch channel. I could have swore I had over 100 at one point. But I don't upload, so you know.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know why, but I just see random text for like one of my friends. I think it's a joke, and it says, "I'm in the mood for a super slow extra slut sauce," and a side something something is the rest of it.
Saying this on Twitch.
No, it's just really. I think it's a joke somewhere. I think I remember hearing it somewhere. So I would like a super slut with super slut sauce and a extra.
Man, it just trails off.
I don't remember the joke. There's actually also a place in the city named Slutty Vegans that has actually really good like vegan food.
Great.
I'm not a vegan, but it's great. But it's a stupid name.
Great.
I'll shut up now.
Yeah, it seems like whenever I both run the project and stream at the same time, mostly it's my GPU that's being consumed. Not my memory, so Google isn't actually affecting that at all.
Oh no, man! If you're running Flash games on Google, that wait, never mind.
It's slowly calming down now.
What is?
Momentum.
The momentum server.
Still trickling a few comments here and there, but yeah, the main chunks up.
Fizz, by the way, don't homie attack those enemies. For some reason, they still don't work with Sonic, but I'll address that when the stars align.
Alright, so home attack those enemies. Got it.
I mean, you could. It's not catastrophic. You just get stuck to them for a bit.
Alright, we're beyond the 5-minute mark, so we can probably get started here.
Alright.
Before I fucking fall asleep.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Or, sorry, stepping on Fizz's toes.
Alright, everyone cancel a man. Okay.
Ah!
Alright, how's it going, Naziria? We was just about to get started. I guess first things first, real quick. To get some of the more minor stuff out of the way. The new enemies are color-codable now. They have the same color customization code that the old enemies had. Where the fuck is the color code at?
No, it won't be on that one because that's the original like master enemy dummy. You have to go and find the new egg pawn one.
So the one that's colored.
Yes, I think that one's it. Does it say BPAI egg pawn at the top right?
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
that's it.
Yeah. I couldn't say it wasn't enough pixels for me.
Here we go. The tabs were just closed. So the these egg pawns here are now able to be colored like so.
The new AI egg pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Animations haven't been set for them yet when they're using certain weapon types, but all the color stuff has been added back to them, and it's technically been improved. It's been a bit more streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
A lot less functions. So yeah. And the skin swapping still works.
Yep.
So you'll put like a flame job on them if you want. Because I mean that's the only example skin I've got for them.
Yeah, the specific shield thing doesn't work just yet for these enemies, but
they're waiting and ready.
Yeah.
Also, you'll notice. I mean, you can't see it fully because obviously your little avatar in the bottom corner, but the whole setup for the detail panel in the bottom right's a lot more cleaner now.
Here, let me hide. Let me hide Fizz real quick.
Oh no!
Ah!
Ah! Just Thanos snap.
Ah!
I snapped the second that disappeared off the screen for me. That was perfect. But yeah, all of the customization stuff is more neatly organized in one smaller area now, so you don't scroll around everywhere trying to find what you need.
Yeah, it's all in one small area. Can there be rainbow? Yeah, if you want, you can go to custom and then just give them a rainbow color.
And by rainbow, do you mean like it actually just changes color the entire time?
If you want some like this here.
So if so, you'd have to make custom textures, custom material for that.
Yep.
I ain't doing that.
So if you want to custom color them to something unholy, like so, you can. But
Looks like a toy from the mid-90s.
It's a fun house egg pawn.
why is that default tertiary color green? What the hell?
The default tertiary color is green for a specific reason. I can't remember why. I don't know. I think it was just to see if it was working.
Hmm.
Yeah. Not going to do the whole changing colors all the time. You have to make that yourself.
Like alternating chroma colors, you know?
Yeah.
The egg pawn will just chroma color itself based on your keyboard.
Well, it's like linked to your RGB keyboard.
I think we've already shown this off before, but these enemies can die now. And then they'll respawn.
They're slowly becoming more functional now.
Yep.
Yeah, we're almost like I was like asking Reese to like add in some more stuff, but like we're almost to the point where like they're almost as functional as the old guys. And then after that we can add in more stuff. Which technically they have some extra AI functionality, like they can actually track you a bit better and wander around. And technically that's the bare bones essential for like potentially attacking you. But we could get started on that later.
We need to work on the attack a bit more, like how they roll their attacks.
These guys are nearly to the point where we could essentially just replace the old enemies with them. Like we just...
Yep.
They still need some work done, but they're almost to the point where we can just replace the old enemies.
Yeah. I think we also showed up with the old enemies, which have a new shooting algorithm, essentially, which we're going to get to the new enemies, too, if it stays stable. But now they use IK to, like, move their hands around. And, I guess Fizz could explain it, but essentially the problem before was that if an enemy was shooting at you, they actually could not actively aim at you if they weren't on screen, because their shooting was actually animation-based. This holds true for the old egg hunters, the gun hunters, actually, if you were to go to them. But as you can see, they're actually tracking while you're not looking at them, which wasn't the case before, because the gun moves by itself and then the animation just IKs to where the gun is.
Unreal will automatically reduce some animation resources when you're not looking at it. You can further that and do more with it, which we have yet to do. But because of that fact, if you were far away enough from an enemy and the enemy was not directly on screen, then the enemy that was shooting at you would always miss because it wasn't being updated properly. But now that's being used for IK, it doesn't matter. So that was a thing that changed.
Oh, I just thought, let's make a sniper egg pawn.
I was thinking of that for the longest time, like even before
just do hit scan.
Just a hit scan sniper.
I think that'd be pretty cool, not gonna lie, to be honest.
Yeah.
Be like a laser egg pawn, an egg pawn that shoots a laser at you, you know?
Yeah, I had some ideas for how we could do lasers for them and possibly the gun hunters.
Remember when we were talking about the whole wisp enemies?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and the flamethrower ones.
If they have laser, they just got a sniper.
Yeah.
Sniper.
And just like we're talking about these enemy ideas, and then we just have a playpen full of enemies that can barely even do anything. It's like we'll get there eventually.
They're in that playpen right now.
Yep.
Well, not all of them. There's some out here.
As I had mentioned before to Emmanuel, one of the things that we were doing as part of the restructuring so long ago, whenever we was restructuring from to be having a single master to having multiple master parents for each individual class was making the inputs modular. Damn it, I got a smudge on my glasses. So that's something I had mostly done. I had gotten about 3/4 of it done.
It's come a long way.
Right away, like as soon as we started working on it. Things like the jump button and the action button or the boost key or whatever. I made those modular. I came up with a modular system for passing information back and forth between the parent and the child.
I'll be 2 minutes. Sorry about it.
It took me a little while to get the special key, or F or Y. I just call it the special key. It took me a little while to get to that one, but I got that one done. I don't think the shoulder buttons are done. I'll have to do the shoulder buttons. That's, I think, like the shoulder and the trigger buttons are the only one that are missing. But other than that, I also got the crouch button done. So if I swap to like Sonic here, and if I press the crouch button, he can crouch and he can do a kick move. But if I swap to, let's see here, Tails can crouch because he has a crouch. The master is what contains all the crouch code, but the speed parent specifically is what contains the kick code, so Tails can't do a kick. If I double tap the crouch button, he won't do a kick because that's specific to the speed parent. But due to the pass-through system that I've done, the master is able to check, hey, is the child supposed to do anything? No? Okay, well then do a basic crouch.
Yeah, it's basically the basics.
You can tell it's functioning because Knuckles can't crouch at the moment, because I only fixed it up for the speed and flight parent because I wasn't going to mess with the power parent in case Emmanuel was messing with the power parent, and he was, so it's a good thing I didn't, but it's
we had that communication going.
It's honestly going to be a easy, simple fix for Knuckles, which needs to be done anyway because a lot of Knuckles' code needs to be transferred to the power parent, which I think you've already started doing that.
I started laying the groundwork for it. I more so just wanted to wait until like some things are finalized. But I could probably start going back and start moving some of the punch code, maybe even the wall climb code to the power parent, because wall climbing doesn't need to just belong to Knuckles.
Does that mean he can't block currently? Yeah. At the current moment, he can't block. This is honestly a super easy fix. We can probably just do it today after the stream or something. It's honestly not that big of a deal.
Also, blocking was kind of broken. Blocking needs to be looked at again because that iteration wasn't looking hot.
Well, we're probably going to have to look at that code anyway. So that's one thing I had done. That's just one more step towards modularizing and making the pass-through code from parent to child more uniform. So, oh, that's a problem.
I haven't seen that error actually.
If I had to guess, it's probably because I had swapped characters.
Probably, honestly. Swapping characters is still very much a debug thing. If it doesn't work with everything.
Yeah. The rails probably need to be changed and updated for that.
Then. Yeah. So you want to show off Tails stuff first, or Knuckles stuff first, or that one Sonic change?
Which one Sonic change?
The one that's related to the thing I added for Knuckles also.
Oh, we'll do Knuckles first, and then we'll just go to Sonic, because the things that we're changing with Tails require a lot of discussion. We're going to be talking a lot about Tails, so we'll do Knuckles first, because Knuckles is the bigger one, then we'll just momentarily swap to Sonic. To show off how it also affects Sonic, and then we'll swap to Tails. So
my stuff is more flashy, but I do think the stuff you did with Tails was also really cool.
Yeah. So Knuckles can still do a Knuckles Quake move, and he can also still do the piercing punch, like so. But the piercing punch has been changed aesthetically to like a drill type move. But the piercing punch has been moved to the F key, or the special button, the Y button, because the X button, or the action button, has been changed to a lunge type attack. And if you hit an enemy with said lunge type attack, They go flying. Holy shit, that lags the fuck out of everything.
Really?
Yes, it does.
Oh.
Yeah, there's something really unoptimized about that. Let me.
Okay, I'll look into that. It wasn't for me, but you're streaming and all that.
Yeah, let me not stream on Discord. Maybe that'll partially help.
Yeah, I'll open Twitch up. Don't worry.
Alright, let's try that again now that I'm not streaming on Discord. Alright, yeah, that's still causing some lag.
Okay, that's my bad. I didn't know it was bad on other systems.
Yeah, it's probably just because I'm streaming at the same time, but that's not a good thing. So, we have given Knuckles a deep impact move. He will lunge forward towards an enemy and punch them, and if the enemy dies, they will be knocked forward a really, really far distance because they're basically dead.
Yeah.
And if you do a deep impact move, it will damage all enemies inside of a small radius rather than just a single enemy in front of you. So if I punch this enemy right here, why didn't it not hit? Okay.
It's more so a cone, which I may change it around. It's very experimental.
Launching an opponent at great speeds isn't good for computers. That's not a problem. Honestly, that's actually a single calculation you just pass through and launch to an enemy. That's, in terms of like calculatory processing power, that's nothing. There's
the problem is that I added in a
rules.
particle effect, which is really unoptimized, and I didn't know it was because it was working fine with me, but because of streaming.
As you can see, I also hit that enemy to the left, and that enemy didn't really go all that far because he wasn't at the epicenter of the explosion. I don't really know how far this would reach. Let's see.
It reaches pretty far.
Alright, yeah, you can see those right there. If you do launch an enemy, and that enemy hits another enemy, it'll act as a projectile and hit enemies behind it. So if I hit this enemy, it'll hit all of those enemies behind them because they're being launched like a fucking projectile. The damage it totally does is a total of 3 damage. An enemy will not get knocked back as far if it survives the hit.
Yeah, there's some drag code that's used if enemy survives a hit, actually. So they just kind of slow down after a period of time.
Yeah. They go farther than they're supposed to at the moment, but that's honestly just some number tweaking. And I didn't notice this, but you made it so if an enemy hits a wall after they get punched, they take extra damage.
Yes, they take 1 extra damage from just hitting a wall. This is all stuff this is the first iteration of the whole enemies turn to projectile code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The damage numbers aren't final, Azario. We'll probably end up increasing the amount of damage it does to a single target. Because the whole point of the deep impact move is it's meant to be a single target damaging move. It's Knuckles' single target trump card in a way. Versus if you do the piercing punch, you can punch through multiple enemies, like so. Or if you do the Knuckles Quake, you can damage enemies around you in a radius. The deep impact move is meant to be the major single target damage. All the additional damage you get from hitting other enemies is more so just a reward for properly setting up the move. So the damage numbers aren't final. We'll probably bump up the actual single target damage of the deep impact move, but for now,
yeah, probably a 4.
4 or 5 maybe.
So we don't want to make it too powerful for when you have if you're in focus mode, because then you could do 15 damage really easily.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep in mind, Knuckles also can melt enemies with normal moves, with his normal combat.
We're also trying to design it knowing that not all enemies are going to have one health.
Yeah. Also, I added new particles to enemies when they get hit.
Yeah, that lag definitely. I don't know if it's the particle effect or what. I don't really know, but
you could probably test it out later.
It really needs to be looked at. Holy shit!
Is there a bit of lag? What?
Just a bit.
Just a bit?
Just a tad.
I bet you're hardly noticeable.
For now, we could just remove the particle effect.
We'll remove the particle effect, and if it still lags, we know it's not the particle effect.
Yeah.
I dropped to like 20 frames whenever the move plays.
I saw 19.
Yeah, it did drop to 19. But like I was rounding up to be nice, you know. So yeah. Part of that code there that also applies to Sonic is the fact that we now have code to turn enemies into projectiles. So if I swap to Sonic here, and I do, let's see here. What would happen if you hit the enemy at a momentum spring? Currently, enemies don't interact with momentum springs, so nothing would happen. But theoretically, what could happen is the momentum spring could launch the enemy. But we'll have to get that interaction going. So let's see here. Oh, god damn it. For some reason, Sonic, every once in a while, orientates himself incorrectly.
Yeah, I have to look into that. It's probably just a speed thing. I just increased the rates in which he snaps on.
So Sonic's got a little bit more of a AoE move now with the Tomahawk Spike, which is something we intended to do from the very beginning. This was intended whenever we originally designed the move, so this isn't like a last-minute addition. We finally got projectile code working for enemies that are sent flying, so now we can actually do this. And whenever they explode, they'll actually deal damage to nearby enemies, like so.
Yeah, and that explosion rates will probably be tweakable later. I just didn't get around to doing that part. Also, Bane, this is definitely a safe place too high.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, Bane's here, Bane. How's it going, buddy? you open up a can of worms there?
Oh my god, Sonic, this Tomahawk Spike has gotten worse for some reason.
I think it's a frame thing, possibly. What I could do is that when he does when you're queuing up the move, it has like a radius around it to see if it hits enemy, and then it snaps to them, or then it just stops. I'm probably just going to increase that radius so that it has more time to like detect enemy before it goes too far.
You did open a can of worms.
He kind of did.
Just as soon as I saw several people are typing about 5 times, I'm like, yep.
This will not end.
Time to grab the popcorn.
Seems like the master enemy has got a problem.
That's caused from you switching characters.
Are you sure about that?
I've tested it before with Sente. It seems that it only happens if you switch characters.
Alright, so yep. We got the deep impact move here that launches enemies as a projectile.
And frags your computer.
Yeah, but it fucking demolishes the computer.
We'll get to that. I'll probably use Fizz's platform as a guinea pig to see what's causing it.
To move on to Tails.
Tails.
I am going to go to the instance because I don't want to mess with that fucking thing. Alright, let's see. us.
How is your day been, if you're still here?
Yeah, how are you doing today? Other than
How is your day?
other than the incident.
Incident.
Alright, so, I feel like there's something else about Tales that I changed other than the main thing. I don't remember.
I was doing fantastic.
Oof.
Was
Getting everything piped and primed. Oh, for like an alpha release?
Oh. It sounds like it. Oh, Fizz,
What?
I muted myself when I said this. We also changed his flight code to be much better when you're doing classic fight.
You're right. That's another thing we changed about Tails. So Tails' flight code is a little bit better now. Specifically his classic flight. We didn't mess with his adventure flight at all. It's still a little bit wonky, and I actually still don't think we ever figured out why it was wonky. But it is a little bit strange. But it's better than what it used to be, and it actually functions, so we'll probably look at it again a little bit later, see if there's anything else we can do. Be right back. Alrighty.
In what way is it strange?
Like, just how much actual airtime you get, or not airtime, like how much you get pulled up.
Oh, I can tell you why it's doing that. It's simply because it's trying. That's just you know how the flight code works, and like how it has to get you up to a certain velocity upward before it says, "Okay, I'm gonna let you go back down."
Mm.
That's what that is. It's just probably a bit higher than you're used to.
Probably,
so I could probably lower that.
One thing we can probably also do is, like, as you're moving upward, like, it'll do a quick timer and say, hey, or not a quick timer, we could use a delay or something, like, hey, you've been, like, this timer has been active for so long, or, like, you've been accelerating upward for so long, have you hit that velocity yet? No. All right, well then, you know, disconnect. That way you don't sit there and, because, like, I could sit here and fall forever, and then, like, as soon as I hit the button, it will try to reverse my gravity up until then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually an artifact from the classic games too, technically.
Yeah.
So we could, like, add some extra functionality. We just need to decide how we want to go about, because now we're getting to the territory where we're modifying the classic code, which is fine.
But yeah, like, that's a lot of airtime I get by just simply hitting the jump button once. Like, you can see that. So I hit it to start the fly, and then I hit it again to actually move up, and then I gain, like, a whole lot of verticality just out of that. So that's a little strange. So that's the one of the two things that we've changed with Tails. Oof. The other thing I had changed with Tails involves the bomb throwing code. Tails can no longer manually set your arc. So you're no longer capable of manually dictating the arc of your bomb throw. Instead, all of the bombs that you can throw now have a preset arc that they will follow. So if I remember right, this one here is that. Yep. Like so. This is gonna roll for a little while. The main reason why I did this is because so far, currently as it is, and we're kind of probably interweave some discussion into this showcase as well. Tails' combat is, or was, way too slow. Like, it didn't flow properly. There was too many steps the player would have to take in order to simply want to do something basic, and it made flowing from the setup phase into the actual action phase of combat for flight characters. It basically made that flow non-existent because it took too long to set things up. So no longer being able to manually set the arc specifically helps with that. So if you give every single bomb its own individual arc, and then you have to work with that arc, helps make it flow a little bit better. And on top of that, the fact that if that arc overlaps with an enemy, it will lock onto that enemy, which is something I kind of forgot I did. That actually still helps with the flow a little bit. So if I simply want to, like, you know, throw a simple sticky bomb, all I gotta do is make sure that my arc at some point in time overlaps with an enemy, in which case it will target that enemy, and then I throw the bomb. It's a lot more faster, a lot snappier, and helps with the flow of things. And another thing it does is it helps make the combat a little bit more reactionary. So if things don't necessarily go the way you want it to, and you start getting ganged up on enemies, not having to worry about setting a custom arc whenever enemies are on your tail, it makes reactionary combat a lot easier. You're able to simply press the button, dictate what bomb you want to throw, and then throw it. Like, once you've lined up your shot, it becomes a lot easier that way. So that's one of the main reasons why I've done that. The other major change I've done, which if you follow the Twitter, you've probably seen this, I have added a homing bomb that will home in on targets, like so.
For some reason, it just reminds me of the egg drones from the movie.
Yeah, it kind of does. The all of those debug lines are actually the home attack tracking code that we use. So that will go for a set amount distance and then automatically explode. It used to last really, really long, but then I realized that it didn't really flow very well. Because I'm like, if you don't want it sitting there and you accidentally throw it in the wrong direction, then the best thing to do would be to just manually destroy it so you can move on to something else. So I try adding it to the list of bombs that you can detonate manually, and then when I did that, I realized that it messed up the flow with the sticky bombs, because like maybe I could throw a sticky bomb and then I could throw a homing bomb, but then I threw the homing bomb incorrectly, so I hit the thing to detonate it, and it would detonate both, you know, the sticky bomb and the other bomb. So I realized that that didn't work, so I'm like, all right, instead of this being manually detonated, it didn't last as long. That way, if you messed up, you just got to throw it again. It looks kind of trippy. Yeah, I mean, this is just debug stuff, so it's not like that's gonna stay or anything like that. So
we did talk about we did like the design, so we may try to emulate that with actual materials, maybe.
Yeah, we may actually, like, if we come up with a model or a mesh that we're gonna use for this homing bomb, we'll probably do some type of X-wing like design, you know. But it does kind of look like Reese had said, it kind of looks like the little egg drones from the movie. This bomb can also target these here. It doesn't target specifically enemies, I don't... Oh yeah, it does. It can target specifically enemies. But it can technically target anything with the homing attack tag, so it can target these here. We still have yet to get code that interacts with item boxes and combat moves. Shouldn't be too difficult to set up, but once we get that set up, it should be as simple as, you know, telling the bombs to interact with it.
Yeah. I think it'd be great if you can just punch open boxes or tail swipe a box open.
Yeah. Or if, like, there's, like, an item box off in the distance, so instead I you know, just throw a homing bomb at it, and it just hits it from a distance, so I don't have to go and grab it, you know?
I think that wouldn't be too hard. We give it a combat actor, that way it can interact with the hitboxes and then, you know, do some work from there. I could look into it at some point.
Yeah, the only problem is, like, it would still need a reference to the player character. And since... For normal combat, that isn't that a big deal, so if you're, like, playing Tails, Knuckles... Like, if you're doing anything that isn't throwing a projectile bomb, it's not a big deal, because you can just simply pass a reference through right then and there. But, for things like Tails' bombs, these bombs are technically a completely separate actor. So, that's a little bit of an issue, but we'll worry about that later. So that's the other thing. Those are the two major things we changed with Tails. Given Tails a homing bomb, that will home in on targets, and alter the arc so that way it is a specifically set arc rather than a custom arc. Why does that not work? Did you change something about the tailspin attack?
My internet is dying.
It's weird. Hold on. Give me 1 second. My stream has been dying too.
Oh.
Can you
So I
still hear
think
me?
really Fizz's stream is dying. We can still hear you.
I can hear you now.
The stream dead. Alright, are we back? Did my internet die?
I think you're fine.
I'm here. Okay, are we back now? Okay, we're good now. Alright, so Emmanuel,
Yes.
why can't Tails do a tail swipe?
You should be able to do a tail swipe. I don't remember messing with that.
Alright.
Well, actually, no. Your stream is. I guess your stream is catching up. Okay. Your face is moving smoothly, so I think you're fine.
Yeah, it's working now. Alright, that might have been my mess up. I'll have to look at the Boolean logic or the branch code. Tails can tail swipe. I just probably messed up the branch code somewhere. So.
Oh yeah, he can't on my end either.
Let me look real quick. Characters, flight parent, action graph, suppressed. How's it going, Snizzy? How you doing today? Okay, I know why this is not working. Discharging is false, then I need to come down here. So. Actually, no, that won't work. I'm not gonna mess with that. So. It's good now, as in you're doing good, or the stream is good? Because I know the stream is good. Alright, yeah, now Tails can tail swipe.
Nice.
There we go. Yeah, there's just a minor mess up with the Boolean logic. What did you miss? I have changed Tails's bomb throwing code so that way you can no longer manually adjust the arc. All the arcs are now at a set distance. I did this because it helps with the flow of combat. Makes combat a little bit more reactionary, so that way you don't have to, like, if an enemy is chasing you down, you don't have to sit there and try to customize your arc and shit like that and select a bomb. There's too many steps to the combat was the problem with Tails's combat. So removing the ability to customize the arc and instead using custom arcs makes this a lot nicer. Another minor change I made is the rolling bomb will now explode on contact with an enemy. So if it hits an enemy, it'll automatically explode rather than only being working on a timer. Boop. Like so. So many big improvements from the last time. Yep. If you're still wanting to, like, make a very precise throw and hit an enemy, you can still do that. If the arc overlaps with an enemy, it will target it for a few moments, in which case the bomb will still fly over in that direction and hit them. So if I did this, boop, it would still hit them, even though I am no longer facing them. But the arc did overlap with the enemy, so it saved that enemy as a target. The Homing bomb will target onto an enemy like so. You cannot manually detonate it. Once it's been thrown, it will move for a couple of seconds before automatically detonating itself. A homing bomb, yeah.
Also known as a missile.
Also known as a missile. The homing bombs can track things like springs and such, and it'll bounce off of them. It does not want to work with sequence springs, but fuck that. I don't want to mess with it. I've tried messing with it. It did not want to work.
There's not really much reason to use it for them anyway.
Yeah. It can technically track anything with the homing target, and if it does it like so, it doesn't want to work. So,
wait, can it track rails? Because that'll be kind of weird.
It probably can. It'll more than likely be able to track rails. So, there's still some work to be done with that bomb. But, yep, homing bombs, that's a thing.
Nice.
Sticky bombs are a thing. That there's a thing. The rolling bomb. The rolling bomb is the one that deals the most damage, and it has the widest radius. But that's just because it's technically the hardest bomb to hit. If you want to throw it at a distance, you have to make sure you line it up, so that way it'll properly actually hit the enemy. The sticky bomb is the bomb with the second widest radius and the second most damage. Just because it's a little bit easier to hit. It's one that you want to do whenever you're closer to enemies, because it'll stick to an enemy, and you can manually detonate it whenever you want. So, for those two reasons, I made it like the second most powerful bomb. And then there is the homing bomb, which deals the least amount of damage and has the widest or smallest radius, simply because it's the easiest bomb to hit. You just gotta throw it, and as long as you throw it in the proper general direction, it will literally hit the enemy. Like, it will hit the enemy for you. You don't have to worry about aiming it.
One thing I did try before is, like, if you try hitting the enemy up top, the yellow guy, one thing I tried doing is running forward, throwing a bomb, and using my speed, get to the enemy first, pop them up into the air, and having the bomb hit them. The problem is that the bomb goes too high if you're running so far, but it is, like, it gets my gears turning when I think of stuff like that.
The bomb's arc does change depending on your speed. Like, if you can definitely tell, like, whenever I start moving, the arc will change. So, if you want to make a, like, further throw, you can simply by moving, and that works for all bombs. Just know that you'll probably outpace the bomb if you continue running afterward. If I throw this bomb, you can see that it's got a much longer arc, boop, like so. Same thing with the other bomb. Any animation updates with Tails? The only major animation update was the fact that his tornado tailspin has some animations. He also got his dizzy animation, which really needs more blend-in time, but his flying animation did get updated from the 3 and Knuckles update, so he's a little bit better that way. He's got his own running animation now. He's also got a top speed running animation, where his leg reaches forward versus his just normal running animation. Which, if I hold on to the bomb, you can actually see the normal running animation, because its top speed is reduced whenever charging up a bomb throw. Ah, well, that's an error. Or not an error, that's an issue.
Oh dear.
I think I know how to fix that issue, so. The only other things you missed was, these enemies here now have custom colors. These are the updated AI enemies. They use a AI behavior tree. They now have customizable colors. And they also have the shield and lance capabilities. So if I also customize the colors, I can make them whatever color I want, like so. The spin is dope. He can run / fly without seeing. I know someone needs to fix that animation.
Nah, it's just a
Yeah,
superpower.
somebody does, isn't there?
I don't know who it is, but someone needs to fix that animation. So if you want to make a gross monstrosity like so, you can.
Hey, that looks kind of cool, actually. I don't know what you're talking about.
Kind of like that, you know. The enemies also take damage, which isn't new. That's something they've.
That's like a month old.
They can take damage now.
Yeah, I nearly went crazy trying to do that one.
These enemies are almost to the point where we can just replace the old enemies with them. They're really, really close to that point.
Yeah. Who knows? It may be so smart that we have to confine them to the pen again for trying to kill you in real life.
Yep.
And also, we did stuff to Knuckles.
Yeah. The crouch code has been made uniform so that, or not uniform, modular, so each individual character can do their, or each individual parent can do their own thing. So, for example, fly characters can crouch like so, but speed characters can do a kick move like this. That is because it has been altered so that the crouch code is uniform, similar to the jump code, the action code, as well as the special code. The other thing we've changed with Knuckles is the piercing punch animation has been changed to a drill animation. And it also has been changed. Its layout has been changed. It used to be on the X button or the action button. Now it's on the Y button or the special key. That is because it has been the action button has been replaced with a different move. Uh-oh, something going on with the camera there. That's other move has the it's called the lag move. It's the move that lags literally everything out on your fucking PC. It's been replaced with the deep impact. The deep impact can damage enemies at a close radius. I don't know why it didn't go off. So if I hit this...
if you let go of the button, it does that too. Which I need to change so that you can't just cancel moves all the time.
Yeah. Like, if you let go of the button, it needs to make sure that the move is finished before it cancels.
Yeah.
So if I'm focusing on this enemy here and that other enemy is really close to it, I'll damage both enemies. They seem to be a little bit too close to each other, though, so we'll probably have to change that. Enemies within close proximity to each other will take damage whenever hit with the deep impact.
Yeah, and right behind them, too, actually. There's a spike that goes forward.
Yeah.
But I may get rid of it since you'll hit them anyway.
The enemy that is launched forward, the primary enemy in front of you that is hit will get launched forward and act as a projectile. So if I hit this enemy, it will launch forward and hit the enemy behind it, like so. It's a little hard to do because these enemies here are actually too close to the wall to properly tell. It's kind of got an issue with that. But if you hit an enemy with a deep impact and they hit a wall, they will take additional damage.
Chili dogs.
Pop. Brambolega, thank you for the follow. I probably mispronounced that. So the deep impact's kind of got a Doomfist thing going on. If you played Overwatch, you can punch an enemy into a wall and they'll take additional damage, which I didn't even actually think about, but Emmanuel kind of added that and I like it, so I'll probably end up keeping it.
Can't wait for that raise.
Another half a cookie crumb.
Although I may get demoted just for the lag spike.
Fuck? What was that? I went right through that enemy.
That's just how it's meant to work.
You saw that enemy on the left kind of got knocked off to the side rather than straight forward. That's because it got hit by an additional hitbox. If I press C here, you'll be able to see the damage hitboxes. Hopefully the lag doesn't just cancel it out for you guys, but there's a couple of hitboxes that spawn. There's one in front of you, and then there's 2 off to the side. The one, if any enemy gets hit by the ones off to the side, they will take damage and get knocked back. Not quite as far as the enemy that gets hit with the main one. Jeez, the enemy went flying. Yeah, if an enemy dies whenever they get hit by the deep impact, they get sent flying, like really far. However, if an enemy survives the deep impact, they're not meant to be sent as far, but they still are. So that's mainly just a value change thing. If an enemy survives, they're not meant to go as far, but they still do. So, fuck me, I guess. Oh, that's... Bop. Rip those enemies. That's...
Yeah, the projectile code doesn't work for the new enemies yet, so they just get hit by, stuff.
Yep. I'm just gonna swap to Sonic because I don't want to get a fuck ton of errors.
But errors
what are you talking about? It's fine.
The enemies have been updated with the projectile code, so you saw it with the deep impact. If an enemy hit with the deep impact gets sent flying and they overlap with another enemy, the enemy it overlaps with takes damage and gets knocked back as well. So enemies can now be converted into projectiles when hit with certain moves. One such move is the homing, launch, and the tomahawk spike, which I just fucked that up. So as you can see, all those enemies got hit because the enemy that got hit with the tomahawk spike got turned into a projectile that then exploded on impact and damaged enemies around it. So with this update to the deep impact, changing enemies into projectiles, we were also able to change Sonic's tomahawk spike to do something it was initially supposed to do originally, but didn't because we didn't have the code in place for it.
Yeah, told you we'll get to it.
Yeah.
We have altered the code.
Pray that we do not alter it any further.
Pray that we alter it further. But anywho.
I mean, unless you're like a vanilla Infinity purist, then they're like, please stop.
They've opened
No
their
touch.
third eye. Now that enemies can be converted into projectiles, we've opened our third eye.
We're also planning to use this code for the homing wrecker rework, which probably is going to happen sooner rather than later. Now that I've made the code for one that allows it.
I love the combat. Fits so well with the kits you made for the characters. Thank you. So yeah, whenever we change the homing wrecker to potentially launch an enemy as a projectile or with a homing kick or something like that, then that will actually make things a lot easier. So yeah, those are the primary changes we've made. Oh. I'm trying to think, but even though I took a Tylenol, my head's still hurting, so I'm kind of brain dead at the moment.
That's fine. The stream also seems to lag for some reason if you're like in that main area, but I think that's just because stuff is loading in, which is weird.
If I walk in and out of the area, the entire game lags just because it's loading stuff in.
Yeah. Really quickly, if you want, we could also test that particle for Knuckles to see if that's causing the issue.
I don't know. What was you saying, Reese?
I just said that we need to do optimization later anyway.
Yeah. No.
Well, one thing to keep in mind, Reese, is that the loading volumes don't seem to cause really any lag spikes if you're running like the game in an actual like standalone thing. It seems to be mostly running an editor thing.
It's just because things run at a different order in editor. But we'll have to look at it anyway. So those are all the main things. Another part that we need to talk about involving Tails is his combat entirely. This change that I've made involving Tails' custom arc code, where you're no longer able to customize the bomb throwing arc. It's all set based on the actual bomb that you throw. That definitely helps the flow of combat for Tails drastically, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to go. One thing me and Emmanuel have discussed is doing away with bombs in their entirety and instead going with a drone system, where instead of you deciding what bombs to throw, you decide what drones to throw, and drones would essentially... Our idea was you would decide upon a drone to throw, and the drone would then spawn in and then do something similar to what like Silver Psychokinesis does with objects, and it would hover around Tails at like a set location or distance, and then from there you can tell the drones what to do depending on which drone it is. You could probably hit the shoulder buttons like L or R, or on keyboard it'd be like Q and E to like cycle through the different drones that you have created to select a drone, and then you could then tell the drone to do something, like maybe you could tell a drone to home in on an enemy, or you could tell a drone to stick to an enemy or something like that. I don't know. We have considered something like that just because a drone idea is a little bit better for the setup situation. You don't have to worry about setting up custom arcs or anything like that. You don't have to worry about positioning. You simply have to create the specific drones that you want. So let's say we limited Tails to like maybe 5 drones of any type or any combination. Tails could maybe create a homing drone, 2 sticky drones, and a like a stunning drone or something like that, a drone that stuns enemies. You could create them, and then from there, once you enter combat, dictate what to do with those drones. Like you say, oh, I want to throw, like I could cycle through, I could select the homing drone and say, hey, I want to use a homing drone, and then the homing drone would automatically do its thing, or I could do a sticky bomb drone, and the sticky drone would do its thing once I've selected it. And one thing we could actually do, this is actually something I kind of just thought of, Emmanuel. One thing we could think about doing is actually combining the drone and bomb idea.
You
know, I mean? Fizz, I'm gonna say that's a terrible idea. I know.
Where's the butts? Where's the cleavage?
Where's the superstars? Where's the models? Infinity Plus bad because we don't have any buxom models in here. So we're going to add Belle Delphine, or whatever fuck your name is. She's sure to get us more downloads, obviously.
What I was trying to say was you can craft drones that you can like pre-create and have set aside for yourself, but the drones would then essentially act as the bomb throwing code, where once you select the drone and then like maybe press an action button or something, the drone would then act as the bomb equivalent would. Like say I had a sticky drone, I have crafted it and preset the sticky drone, but once I hit a certain button, the sticky drone would essentially act as a sticky bomb. It would get thrown in an arc and stick to enemies, you know?
Okay, I see what you mean. So that's kind of that makes sense. That's kind of how I originally thought it would work. Is that just some quote unquote bombs would have logic and some wouldn't, or some would just have more advanced logic. So all the bombs, potentially all the bombs would have homing logic, but you still throw them around. Kind of like in real life, there are drones you can't throw and they'll deploy in flight, but they're experimental.
Please don't tell me where's the cleavage is an actual claim. No one said that. That's just an inside joke.
It's an inside joke from a really funny animation.
You say, where's the mob? I say, where's the supermodels?
I say, what the fuck?
Hey, let me finish story.
Let me finish story. But yeah, those are some ideas of what we're doing with Tail, or we're throwing around with Tails. We want to get other people's opinions on this because the bomb code could flow better than it currently does. I think the changes I've made to it helps with the flow of combat, and maybe it is enough if enough people really like how the bomb combat is looking right now. and all we got to do is simply change up the bombs. I'm not saying it like whenever I say how it is now, I purely mean like the fact that you press a button, select a bomb, and then throw said bomb. I'm not talking about the actual bombs themselves. The sticky bomb, the rolling bomb, the homing bomb, those are not final bombs. Where we can toss around the idea of a bunch of different bombs, but the core concept of readying a throw, selecting a bomb, and then throwing said bomb when you let go. That is a system in place that we are considering using. The actual bombs themselves that are involved in the system can be interchangeable with different bomb ideas. And an idea like this, I mean, technically this is also true for the drones. An idea such as this is very modular and customizable based on, the people that are using it. So if someone wants to create their own bomb, all they got to do is create a new bomb child, give that bomb logic, and then include that in an enum, and then, select that bomb. It's honestly super easy. You don't even have to really change tails. You just got to create a new bomb and then set that bomb in a list, and then, set that information inside of the flight character. Will super forms have the same combat as the regular forms, but a little more damage? Or AoE? More than likely. I don't think it's set up, actually.
Well, right now, if you're a super form, you deal 3 times as much damage normally. So
yeah, that's what I was meaning.
Yeah, the only major difference right now, is that Sonic or 3 characters in particular will just not have their homing attack modifiers. That's simply because Sonic has to have brand new animations for him because he uses a different model.
That shouldn't be too difficult. Doing that, we will just have to retarget the existing combat animations to the super model. That's honestly.
You would also have to tell, you also have to tell them to use those animations instead of just having one animation. You need to say, oh, if you're a super form, use this one too. Mm-hmm. So you'll have to add way more variables.
Yeah. So currently with super or speed characters, they can't do any of the additional combat, but that's just due to some infrastructure that we got to get set up and figured out. How it is we're probably going to do it is super forms will deal essentially additional damage per move. We will probably still keep it so that touch damage will still be a thing. Like if you're super form and you touch an enemy, the enemy will take damage, but it'll most likely just be like a single ticket damage to help incentivize you to continue using the combat moves. So that way you don't have to worry about why would I ever want to do a combat move as Supersonic if, I can just touch them and immediately kill them, So touch damage will probably be nerfed a little bit to make room for combat moves. And again,
that's what they do right now.
That is specifically for combat. If you turn off the combat, we'll probably end up changing the variables so that being super can deal more damage on touch or something like that. That's not a hard-coded set thing. That's if the advanced combat is enabled. But see what Spain's saying. Why don't you have tails scroll through bombs automatically to reduce button presses? So it takes skill to time it. If you play something like League of Legends, similar to Twisted Fate.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. It's kind of like I forgot if it was in Rouse 8 or something where you hold down a button. Oh, think Pac-Man from Smash Bros. You hold down a button, you get better projectiles as you scroll through them. So you have to wait to get better ones. But if you just throw it instantly, you get maybe a crappy bomb, but still useful and quick.
So you can't use combat as super though? Yes, we literally just explained that speed characters cannot currently use combat moves because of the animations that we would have to retarget to Sonic's super model. And then the fact that we would have to tell the code to, if you were using that specific model, you have to use these specific animations, which is only exclusive to Sonic and no one else. So setting that up in the speed parent is kind of a pain because then we're setting up specific code specifically for Sonic that literally no one else uses.
Thank you, Sonic. Very cool.
Sonic himself is actually throwing a wrench into that. Combat for super mode will be a thing. We literally just explained that. It's just not ready yet. We haven't set it up. And the thing about cycling through bombs, I'm not entirely sure I want to do that simply because one, it involves sitting there and waiting. You are in the middle of combat. For example, one of the reasons why I changed it so that way you can no longer set a custom arc and that all the bombs have a preset arc is because a preset or a custom arc situation where you have to manually set your arc is not very good for reactionary combat. If enemies are starting to swarm you, then it's one more thing you have to sit there and think about. It's one more thing you have to set up. You're like, oh, I have to make sure I have my custom arc set up and select a bomb and stuff like that. That's all things that you no longer have to worry about by setting a custom arc. Having to wait through a cycle of bombs is that same problem. Like, if enemies are swarming you, then and you want to sit there and fight back, and you want a specific type of bomb to fight back, then you have to wait and dodge and dance around enemies until you get the very specific type of bomb that you want, rather than it being reactionary, like, oh, they're attacking me, I want this specific bomb, I simply hit this button, it gives me the bomb I want, and I throw it. You don't have to wait, it frees up movement so you can go around doing other things. I mean, you can go around do other things while doing this as well. Like, I'm not restricted while trying to select a bomb.
Yeah, I think even more so, like, you can't, if you have a bomb selected, you can't, like, say, select another bomb or Tails attack. Which, I mean, you know. I do think, one thing I was talking to Fizz about, and I think, how do I explain it? We want Tails' combat to be slower, but I think one way to make it feel faster is to make it so that one singular attack or thing Tails can do, especially when it comes to maybe drones or bombs, would take, like, for instance, if you throw out that, homing bomb, maybe in the future we can even slow it down even further, possibly, and make it so that you're incentivized to throw out the bombs preemptively, go into a situation and mess things up more, and then when a bomb gets there, it will have, like, it will do something else and add to it. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the idea is that maybe with Tails you're more likely or incentivized to queue up devices or events or things to happen later on so that you can multitask essentially.
The whole idea of our whole concept with flight character combat is that it's something that you have to think about. The mechanical skill required mainly is like mostly converted into mental skill. You have to think about it. There is still mechanical skill required. You do have to make sure you can land the bomb where you want to throw it. You do have to make sure you time the input presses for the tornado attack. You want to do that. There is still mechanical skill involved, but nowhere near as much mechanical skill as like speed or power characters, simply because a lot of the skill comes from how you use what you have at your disposal, like the resources at your disposal. And I don't really think a timer system like that, what you're suggesting, really helps with that. The whole throwing or the whole selecting a bomb I don't feel needs to be a mechanical thing. You should have the tools at your disposal when you need it, I feel, because the whole point of the flight characters is you set things up beforehand, you go into action, and then the action snowballs from there depending on how you set things up. So if you're sitting there waiting on a timer, or you're sitting there waiting for a cycle of bombs to do what you want to do, then the whole setup process feels less in your control, I feel. It is technically more mechanically demanding, but why punish the player for doing what they're supposed to do, you know? If that makes sense. Like, oh, you are trying to sit here and pre-set up a situation in combat, but you failed to time a button press, therefore you get the wrong type of bomb, ergo you don't get to set things up how you wanted to, even though we asked you to set things up beforehand. So I don't really think a system like that would work. If a whole lot of people want it, like, I'm not sitting here saying we absolutely cannot do that idea. If a whole lot of people, like, whenever I re-upload this on YouTube in the comment sections, like, oh yes, we absolutely want, you know, a cycle system where you cycle through bombs and then you select it. If everyone wants that, then yeah, we can test it and play around with it. But the way I'm seeing things function and work out in my head, I'm not seeing it flow very well. But I could be wrong, and a lot of people could disagree with me. And if enough people want it, then we can test around with the idea.
Yeah, we're reworking, say, like the homing record because people like reacted to it, and we're like, okay, yeah, they're right. Let's change it around, and that's fine. Like, yeah. I wouldn't say we're we're not seasoned game developers, and two, this stuff.
By it.
What?
you were seriously hurt by it.
Oh, actually, no. Yeah, you're right. I hate everyone. How dare you make me change that one move at all? Anyway, I'ma cry.
I was thinking a way around where bombs were the aftermath rather than the initiator. Yeah, for the most part, bombs are meant to be the initiator. The reason I made the changes that I did is to help them be a little bit of both. They're still primarily the initiating a bit like move. Like if I'm sitting here, like I see these enemies, I'm coming up with a plan. I'm like, oh, I want to toss out a few of these here, and then one of these here. I can initiate the fight how I want, and then follow it up with some tailspins. Like I just wiped out more than half of that entire platoon of enemies because I preset things up how I want with the bombs. And sitting here trying to adjust the throwing art manually and trying to line up a perfect shot was no longer a part of that. All I had to do is go, oh, I'm in this situation, I want to throw this bomb, I want to throw this bomb like here, I want to throw this bomb here. But you can't just spam bombs anywhere. No, you can't really spam bombs, mainly because every bomb has a cooldown timer. So the cooldown timer for the sticky bombs is like, I think like a second, versus the cooldown timer for the rolling bombs is like 2.5 seconds.
Give me 2 minutes. Be right back.
Something like that.
Yeah, we don't have like an Overwatch style cooldown. It's just kind of internal right now.
Yeah. The two main reasons why there's a cooldown is, one, being able to just spam and throw bombs everywhere would be insanely broken. Two, it would be horrendous on the resources, because every time you throw a bomb, the game is spawning in a new bomb actor. So if I didn't have a timer, if I didn't have a cooldown, and you're sitting here throwing out a bunch of bombs, then you're probably going to lag your game out because you're sitting here spawning in a whole bunch of actors, and not to mention, you know, the fucking like the particle effects. Like we don't have any particle effects or any models in here yet, so even though it's running really well, once we start getting some models in here, once we get some sound effects and particle effects going, it's going to be a lot more resource intensive. So,
it's probably limited down to like 10 at most for bombs, and even less than that at some point.
Yeah, currently there is actually no hard cap limit for bombs, which I do have an idea on how to do. It's just getting it set up. It'll probably be a little bit difficult to do. Boop, 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 boop. Like so. So yeah, with a system like this, as you saw whenever I was playing earlier, I was able to get things set up relatively quickly. I was able to go like, oh, there's enemies right there. Let me throw a bomb right here. Let me throw a bomb here. Let me throw a bomb here. Now I've got the bombs where I want to set up. I could probably throw like an initiating bomb like so, or like that, and then I can continue on and essentially just wipe everything out. There was a little bit of setup, but essentially I wiped out the entire platoon in like a single move, you know, because I thought about it. I'm like, all right, these enemies are positioned here. If I throw a bomb here, here, and here, maybe throw one type of initiating bomb versus another type of initiating bomb, and then clean up with a tailspin, I essentially wipe out the entire platoon. There was a lot of mental work involved and a little bit of setup, but the entire actual combat situation basically was over in a couple of seconds because I thought about it, I preset the situation up, and I went from there.
If I were to weigh in, we're okay just like discussing that, right?
No, you absolutely cannot question I'm kidding.
Dang it! Oh. No, like I guess if I were to get my 2 cents, one thing I do like, one thing to keep, I do want to keep in mind is that like I do feel like while we have a very sterile environment that we're setting things up in right now, is that, and I do feel like seeing how you're like, obviously mechanically we're going to change a lot of things. I do think like either things will have to be streamlined a lot, or like we'll have to give Tails more like in-your-face tools in terms of his like explosive bombs and drones. Because I do feel like with those images where you're throwing in sticky bombs and setting up, they were just kind of just sitting there. Like like that won't always be the case, and maybe they'll struggle. Flight characters will struggle more with that. But one thing I think that could help maybe to make the bombs a bit better at like not only just being initiated but also follow-ups is like making so that bombs. Well, I did actually suggest this before. It's like making bombs have maybe different properties if you're flying, because me and Fizz were talking about it, and like the arc you have while you're flying, it's probably gonna go bye-bye.
Yeah, we're probably gonna remove this arc here while you're flying, just because one, it's really, really, really hard to fucking like actually line up. Two, the way that the spawning works, the bomb could potentially spawn on top of you and mess up your flight, and also mess up the bomb arc and stuff like that. So it would just get messy. So that's like Amanda said, that's probably gonna go bye-bye. We're probably not gonna actually. You're still gonna be able to throw bombs while flying.
Yeah, no, you can still do that. We're not saying you can't throw bombs while flying.
Yeah, that's still gonna be a thing. Basically, what Mr. Bain said, we're probably just gonna have it drop down below you.
Yeah, you will become a B-10 bomber.
So if you play Majora's Mask, kind of like the Deku Mask, where you can fly around and like look right down below you and drop a like a Deku nut. It's probably gonna be something similar where like if you hold a thing, like maybe there's an arc right below you and you can just like simply hit a button and it'd be like, oh okay, I'll drop this bomb, and it just drops it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We probably should streamline it so that it's easy to do even while you're mashing a jump button. That's one thing to keep in mind. Because if we want to make Classic Flight viable with combat, you would have to make so that you don't have to break your hands doing both.
One thing I considered doing was like if you're in the middle of charging, like a bomb throw, it'll lock your Z vector, so that way you don't go up or down while you're readying a bomb. That way you don't have to worry about rapidly tapping the jump button while you're doing that. Just one less thing to think about. But
yeah, you could probably just say like maybe Project Hero also, where like when you try to bomb, you start slowing down and slowly falling. I'm not saying copy it, but I do like the idea. It's like it's technically a movement penalty, but in the right situation, it's exactly what you need, which is slow that F down.
Is Tails able to stomp? No, stomp is a speed character specific ability.
Yeah, we're probably going to do something different with Tails. We may even just make it so that you can't do anything like that exactly, but eventually we're thinking about giving Tails a free flight ability, and simply, instead of doing that, you could just tell Tails to like fly down. I was about to finish my thought and I'll be done with my little rant. But one idea I thought of is that since when you're flying, maybe make it so that Tails' bombs are more effective at initiating when flying. Because when you think about it, you have such an advantage when flying, maybe you could use it for that. And then make it so that when you're on the ground, Tails' bombs are geared more towards reactionary or follow-up damage, stuff like that. Because that's just the way I think about it. Like, if you're in the air, you can just set the situation that you want, and then you run out of stamina, drop on the ground, and, now it's time to get busy.
Give him an opposite of Stomp, an airlift. Like his dash attack.
Berlin airlift.
I considered one move, like, similar to like Sonic's Tomahawk Spike. Like he'll flip forward and like smack his tails, and if he hits an enemy, he gets knocked into the air.
You can kind of do that now with the tail swipe if you jump, although the animation doesn't change.
What the fuck? Did that enemy just move?
Yeah, they can for some reason.
Mid-air scale, the mid-air tail swipe is probably going to need to be buffed.
The range needs to be buffed. It doesn't need to do 2 damage, I believe, because right now it does.
Oh, okay. I think there's something wrong with that timer. That is not correct. Like his dash attack about skydive animation. I don't think Tails actually has a skydive animation yet, if I remember correctly.
He probably doesn't.
No, he does not. All characters can quick fall now. Not only speed characters. I cannot jump. There is a problem somewhere.
This presents a problem.
Knuckles cannot quick fall at the moment, but that's just because his code is not set up to do so. It shouldn't be too difficult to do that, though. So, I'll probably have to go over it with you, Emmanuel.
I thought he could, because I remember seeing him do it before.
He might be able to, actually. He might be right. It might have been fixed up. Fast fall that pushes enemies away when landing, or send them like silver. Maybe.
That is possible. It make it so that it only does it if you fall for long enough.
I think since he's a fly type character, he's meant to be stronger in the air rather on the floor. Yeah, flight characters are probably going to end up being stronger in midair. One thing we might actually just end up doing is, honestly, I'm not against the idea of just doing something similar to what you did, Bane, and having a some type of homing bomb that you knock back and forth as a flight character.
I was talking, like when Bane showed off, I was saying, can we try that at some point? Because it looked really fun, actually.
Yeah, I'm not against an idea like that.
I do have an idea.
But I haven't decided yet. We'll have to look at it. Let's see here. Since ergo, there's no need for a stomp because you want him in the air. Yeah. A stomp move for a flight character doesn't make too much sense, I don't think. You can already cancel a flight like so.
My internet died. What happened?
Manuel pulled out his massive Schmeat.
Yeah, it was really bad. We got banned on Twitch because of it.
I was going to say that's why it died. It just couldn't handle it.
There was way too many inputs that made it silly. That's why I changed it to a ping pong. Are the speed characters different from one another? No. The whole point of how this combat functions, or how we set it up, is that the combat is meant to be uniform across all characters of their type. So, Shadow, Blaze, and Metal Sonic have this Tomahawk Spike. They have the homing chain. They have the homing wrecker. And they can perch on enemies. One thing that we might end up doing is we might make some minor adjustments so that certain speed characters have like slightly different properties, you know, like maybe one thing we had considered doing was altering it so that the perch is a move that completely changes depending on the child character. Like Sonic is going with the perch, maybe Shadow would, instead of doing a perch, would do a Chaos Spear, maybe Blaze would do something else, and Metal Sonic would do something else, you know. Yeah, making the perch a specific move to each individual character. That way, they would each have their own, like one move to their own, you know.
Yeah, and of course you could change animations and hitbox data and stuff like that too, which will come later because that's more so polished than anything. But I can see that being done, like make it so that we do a Tomahawk Spike with Shadow. Maybe there's some teleportation involved, or maybe he does like the animation from the opening Shadow Hedgehog where he uses his fist instead or something. You know, not mechanical changes more so, but minor, like polished changes in animations to make them feel different.
Snizzy, the running speed is the same for all speed characters. All speed characters have the same running speed in physics. That's not something difficult to change. If someone wants to change it, they simply just have to go into the child character and alter those variables. But by default, all the speed characters are identical in terms of their physics. Like acceleration, friction, top speed, jump height, all of them are exactly the same. It will not be difficult to change it if you want to. It's just by default they're the same. And they are individually changeable. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I did have just thought of an idea possibly for Tails, because going back to the flight thing, what if you said you wanted to combine the bombs and the drones maybe? Mm-hmm. What if you made it so that, how do I explain it? So that when you're flying, Tails just simply drops bombs. And well, when I say drop bombs, I mean like whatever he drops, whatever projectiles or explosives he drops will not really have logic to them, or at least they'll be far more dumbed down. But maybe as soon as you land on the ground, like you can have an inventory of bombs. When you land, the bombs just turn into drones, and they start flying around him, and they work differently. Like they work more independently of him, kind of making it so that when Tails is flying, it's almost like he's in a different mode, and the bombs will shift depending on what you're doing.
I've considered something similar to that, to what you're talking about, but I don't know. On one hand, trying to do the stream. On the other hand, I'm way too fucking tired to think about stuff like that. My brain is barely functioning as it is right now. I've been getting a lot of migraines recently, and I can't seem to fucking think. I kind of get what you're talking about, and I've considered the idea myself. I think if I understand what you're talking about, if we're like on the actual same page, but I'll have to think about it a little bit more.
I think we are. We usually are on the same page when we talk about tells at this point, honestly.
If they're supposed to be stronger in the air, then I think something to consider is attacks that constantly launch them into the air. Maybe. So far, flight characters are the only characters whose combat moves don't affect their platforming in any way. Speed characters and power characters are the two character types that have that their combat not only flows with speed, but also flows with platforming. Like, for example, there's the homing wrecker, which can move you across the I'm sorry, not the homing chain. There's the tomahawk, spike, and kick, which launch up into the air. There's Knuckles' uppercut. There's his quake, which we're considering a couple of moves with that, and his piercing punch, which launches you forward, stuff like that. There's a lot of moves that interplay both the combat and the platforming together, but flight characters are so far the only characters that don't have that. And I'm not against implementing some platforming moves or some combat that enhances their platforming in some way, but on the other hand, flight characters are already broken. Like, flight characters already have a massive leg up when it comes to platforming. They are capable of saving themselves from certain falls. They're capable of traveling across further distances in terms of like platforming gaps, things like that. So on one hand, they don't really need it. On the other hand, it could help. It could still help give some kind of reward to combat for flight characters. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm not against the idea of having combat moves that implement their platforming in some way, such as like bombs that help their flight. But we simply just haven't decided upon that just yet. Mainly because the flight characters, out of all the characters, the flight characters' combat is still very much up in the air as to how we really want to take it. So currently how it is right now, the bombs don't implement or don't alter your platforming in any way at all. It might stay that way. It might not. We don't know yet. I'm trying to get Emmanuel to let go of Knuckles so he can help me with the flight character's combat, but he just refuses to let go of Knuckles.
Hey, things you said, like, get the deep impact working and then like start easing up, and that move just kind of took a while.
Yep, and now it's done, so we can start working on flight characters.
Now it's done, so chop, move on.
Yeah, he's got a point. I guess I'll leave the lag in.
Yeah. So what if instead of a homing wrecker, Metal Sonic would shock the enemies? I'm talking about replacing the perch, not the homing wrecker. We've not even confirmed the idea of altering the perch for every speed character move. It's something we would like to consider doing. We probably won't get done before we push this update.
Yeah, that's probably for later.
That's probably not going to be a thing that gets done for this update. But if we do end up altering one of the combat moves per character, it will be the perch, not the homing wrecker or the homing chain or tomahawk spike. That's not something that we're going to be changing, because then that gets really complicated and really deep, and it's like, oh well, if you change the homing wrecker for one character, why didn't you change the homing wrecker for all characters? Why is, like, Metal Sonic the exception in this rule, and then people get bitchy about it, and then I don't want to hear it, and then
there is technically, like I said before, there are ways to just simply make it so that like you don't technically change the way a move works, but you change how it feels. Mm-hmm. Like one idea I had, because I work with the homing chain so fucking not much, I know how to manipulate the fuck out of it. You could make it so that, let's say for a Shadow, for instance, you could make it so that when you do the homing chain, he, instead of flying around, he simply teleports to each person and does it, and all you would technically do is just make it so that you just make him invisible and just play an animation every time he hits an enemy. Or even go further, make it so that he throws spears, and the spears don't actually hit the enemies, but like once again, he's technically going around and hitting them, but the spears are like animations themselves. Like there's ways to go about it to like kind of like game the system, but once again, that's for later.
When Emmanuel laughs, it sounds like someone rubbing sandpaper on a wall. What?
Oof.
When was the last time I laughed?
Right there. Okay, I can kind of see it. I only know why they make that comparison because I know it's sandpaper rubbing on a wall. Sounds like. But
oh damn! Okay.
It's not really your laugh. Barely... It's not your laugh. It's your like tiny chuckle, like the, you know.
Which... Yeah, it doesn't help that it's coming through a microphone.
Yeah, it doesn't help either. But still, you know. Anyway, it also said Project Hero had bombs launch tails into the air, but I think some other ideas would be the airlift that someone suggested earlier and something like the landing jump from Spider-Man PS4. I don't know what you're talking about, the landing jump thing.
He's going to do the superhero landing.
Superhero
oh,
landing?
No, that's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is in Spider-Man, you can like web swing onto like kind of like perch points, ledges and stuff.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about now.
And you could time a jump off.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. For some reason, when he said landing jump, I thought of the fucking like in Mario Odyssey, if you do a ground pound jump,
Oh yeah, that.
You like as soon as you hit the ground for a ground pound, you press the jump button, you'll actually get an extra jump upward. Which
that was a cool addition for Mario.
Odyssey had a lot of cool additions to Mario. I thought it was really good. The whole bomb launching into the air is an idea we tossed around, but if bombs are going to have different radiuses and stuff, and bombs are meant to be the preset situation, like you use bombs to set things up and then you initiate the fight from there, having bombs launch into the air could potentially mess combat up as well, because like I'm throwing a bomb here and then I want to hit an enemy nearby, but then the bomb launches me into the air and I am no longer doing a tailspin, I'm doing something else, There are some things we'll have to consider and think about with that. I'm not against the idea, but we'll have to see about it. And I am completely aware of how Project Hero handled the bombs. I don't know if they're still doing bombs with their changes.
Not currently. I haven't seen any bombs with the current build they had.
Bombs.
Which seems to just mostly focus, which makes sense. Tails wasn't really focused on. I mean, Tails wasn't really focusing on being a genius, like when the OVA. Well, even OVA, he had some stuff, but like nothing with bombs or anything. So I imagine they're gonna dummy that down, which is all right, but in a way, how do I explain it?
Very sad.
No, it doesn't make me sad. In many ways, I can see that being a viable direction for Tails because many people even find it weird that Tails is a genius because not really accentuated in his character, unlike Sonic being a cocky, fast douchebag, being accentuated by him being a blue, hedgehog. Like it's not something that's really easily displayed by his character. So if it were dropped, kind of like it was in Archie comics, well, it wasn't dropped in Archie comics, it wasn't prevalent at first. It could work. Like you can have a moveset for Tails that revolves around him flying, and I guess being a kid like Sonic the Fighters. But it depends on what you like about Tails.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about now?
I was talking about Project Hero and how like not focusing on Tails' this gadgetry is a viable option for like Tails' moveset, but you would leave something out. That was also a rant, so I'll be quiet.
Quiet you.
Yeah, it's okay, Jay Ninja. I think he knows what we're talking about now.
I have played Spider-Man PS4. We do have it. I've not played all the way through it, but
the airlifting idea that someone brought up before and Ezreal brought up again is something we did talk about before, though.
Mr. Rain had mentioned it. He was the one that brought it up.
Being able to pick up enemies and stuff.
I think he's meaning airlift as something else, like as a platforming modification. Like I think they was talking about it under the context of like the stomp. Like rather than this, like if a flight character were to have a stomp equivalent, rather than sending you down, it would send you upward, similar to Sonic Battles, like mid-air.
Oh, okay.
In an airlift. That's what he meant by an airlift.
Okay.
We have considered the idea of lifting enemies. That is something we have considered.
Yeah, because the reason I like that idea personally is that it's a very unique thing that flying characters could do, because it just makes it so that you could pick up enemies and then fly around with them. It's very organic to me. Mm-hmm. It's just the problem is figuring out how to work it in. But, that could be a thing. But it wouldn't exactly enhance the flight character's platforming unless we, find some creative way of doing that. But it would definitely make so that, the flight character's inherent, strength, their platforming prowess, could enhance their combat even further.
Yeah.
You know, big words.
I'm not against the idea of doing things that enhance flight characters' platforming and such, but like I said earlier, they're already the easiest characters to platform with. They're literally easy mode in terms of platforming. So I'm not against the idea, but I'm also like, I don't see it as something that majorly needs to be done in any way. Does that make sense? Like, oh, that's something flight characters are absolutely missing and absolutely need. Because they don't really need it. But at the same time, if we did it, it would just, it's good for consistency's sake.
Yeah, you also want to have some level of tech, maybe. Like, make it so that normally if it does augment platforming, you get like a massive debuff. But if you do it correctly, maybe you can do it in a way that optimizes it so that you can, you know, for speedrunning purposes. Because having tech is always cool if you do it right. Mm-hmm. Make it so that you can optimize your technical skills and separate the people who've been playing for a year versus people who just picked it up.
Yeah. Are you using C++? Currently, no. We're just using blueprints. Everything here is using blueprints. However, eventually, we are going to be moving stuff to C++. Not everything. We're not going to move everything to C++ because this is meant to be very customizable. And the more things we move to C++, the less customizable it becomes for people to use. Unless those people know C++, in which case, you know, it doesn't really matter either way. But, we're not currently using C++, no.
Give Tails an air dash. We're planning on giving him a free flight. Giving an air dash isn't out of the possibility, because we did just kind of give Sonic a, you know, a dodge and an air dash. So giving one a Tails would make sense. Mm-hmm. More so will be an issue of like buttons. Technically, he could make a circle. I mean, the crouch button when you're in the air, because currently doesn't do anything.
Yes, it does. It cancels your flight.
Oh, I mean, like if you're not flying, I meant. But that's not really...
Currently, other than the X button, none of the buttons do anything in midair. Like, both Y and B are not being used for anything in midair if you're not flying.
Yeah. We still have to figure out what, like, the flight character's quote-unquote Y contextual button will be.
There could always be the bash. Remember the bash?
Yeah. It could be that. To be completely honest, one thing I was trying to go for that I didn't say it because it was just sort of in the back of my mind, but I like the idea of like for speed characters, it affects like objects. Like in this case, it will be rings. For power character, it will affect enemies, you know, picking them up. And for flight character, it will affect like something else, like terrain or something. But since we're not going to like, you know, clone objects or move them around, I may have to drop that. But it is one thing to consider to make them more unique. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Make it so that the way to maintain your speed is as a flight character is to remain in the air. Remaining in the air actually reduces your speed. That's not a bad idea if we were making a flight character central thing, but we're not. We're very much making something that is more traditional in terms of the whole platforming thing. We're not including any of the combat into this. We're making something a little bit more traditional. We're obviously experimenting with a lot of things, but I don't know. I'm not against the idea. Honestly, it is a really cool idea and a really good one, but I don't think it's something that would fit our project as it stands right now. But I'll probably remember it and think about it, but I'm also, again, really brain dead right now, so I can't really think about how that would fit in the entirety of everything. In terms of like gameplay flow, it would make sense, because if the whole aspect of a flight character is to fly, then and you still want your speed to be a part of your game, then flying should be, you know, a flight character's way of maintaining speed. But at the same time, there's the whole balance issue of, you know, flying is technically a very broken ability in terms of platforming. So I don't know. I'm too brain dead to really think about it right now. There was one last thing. There was one last thing I just remembered we got to show off.
What is it?
Actually, I'm going to swap the knuckles instead.
What's for the rest of them?
It's mostly functional for the most part. There are a couple of issues with it, and actually I wanted to talk to you about some of those issues in the manual, but we'll just have to see. We'll mess with it later. We have a character swapper.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Like an in-game character swapper. There's a character swapper we use as a debug, like, you know, this here, that's a debug character swapper that we use in engine, or in editor. Doesn't entirely work as we want it to, but you know, it's functional for now. But we have an actual in-game character swapper. One that actually swaps a character in-game for you. So as like an in-game object / tool.
Oh, that one.
Yep.
I was confused as which one you're on about for a while there.
We only have 2 character swappers.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen the project, alright?
So the character swapper here, it functions how it does with 06. You set an object out here into the world. You can dictate the offset of the mesh, so if I wanted to like raise the mesh up and stuff or set it somewhere specific, you can. You can also set the offset of the box like this here. You can also set the scale of the box like so. There's a swap delay which dictates the amount of time it takes for the character, like for it to actually swap between characters. So if I made that like 1 second, actually hold on, if I made it an excruciatingly long 5 seconds, you'll be able to see that it'll take like 5 seconds from whenever I overlap with the box to actually control the character. You can still control the camera, which is something I gotta fix.
You can make true 06 lag.
Yeah, you can make it last for fucking forever, like true to 06, you know.
Hell yeah. Always attention to detail with you, isn't it?
Yep. And then you can also swap which character you want. So, boop, Knuckles, Sonic, Shadow, Metal Snock, Vector, Whisper, Big, you know.
Big Chungus.
Mario. There is a few issues with it, mainly involving the HUD and speed characters, but we're probably going to end up reworking the HUD anyway. And there's also another issue which I wanted to talk to you about, Emmanuel, involving the scale of the actors. Like, as you can see, Silver is much smaller than Sonic is, which is not correct. Where's Silver at? Here. There's also Tails. Tails is actually a lot smaller than he's supposed to be. For some reason, if I like come up here and
I think that's because their mesh is scaled up when they're actually like in the blueprints. But when you get like their animation or mesh assets, they're smaller for some reason.
You can see how small Tails is here, and then whenever I walk in, they spawn in a new model, and Tails is taller again.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think Reese would know more about that because I don't really.
I was with him when he was doing it. Yeah. I was with him when he was doing it, and I was confused.
Yeah. So there's
I'll look at it again.
There's a few issues with it, involving the scale of the actor being spawned in. There's also just, in general, things not finished with it. Like, you could put a cinematic cam that your camera will swap to whenever you overlap with it, you know? That way, if you want to do the whole Sonic, let me take over for 30 seconds so I can hit, like, one switch, you know? Fucking whatever, if you want to do that, you can. We gotta
that one switch is very important.
Yep. The one character animation that every character shares in Sonic 06, you know? The hey.
Hey.
Hey. There's still that to do. So there's still stuff to be done with it. It's purely just bare bones functioning at the moment. And even then, there's still a couple of issues with it. But other than that, it actually was honestly a lot easier to set up than I thought it would be. I figured it would be easy, but I expected a whole lot of problems and issues. But none of those problems and issues showed up. So it turned out to be even easier than I thought it would be, even though I thought it would be easy, save for any issues, but there were no issues, so it turned out to just be easy. But nice. There are a few other issues. tied with it, but some of it is the actual object itself. Other parts of the problem involve just the HUD, and it's actually the HUD's fault and how it handles being spawned in and stuff. So, do you still have the character following thing? Yes, we do. That is still a thing. It's not on right now, but it's a thing.
It's also very incomplete.
Yeah, it's a very work in progress.
Yeah, it's gonna get updated along with new enemy AI because it can share behavior tree nodes and stuff with each other.
Mm-hmm. So there's that. I don't think there's really much of anything else to talk about that I can think of. Honestly, I'm tired of talking about flight characters combat. We've already got everything out in the open that we needed to. I hope that anyone who watches the uploaded devlog onto YouTube will give us comments and share your thoughts. Please give us your thoughts. On one hand, there are things we know that we do and don't want to do with the flight characters. On the other hand, what the fuck do we do with the flight characters? You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't let us potentially tell you that we consider it be a deterrent from you telling us. The one suggestion we will not take, however, is porting the game to Android. Stop.
Please,
we will not do that.
Oh, for the love of God, please stop asking that question. I am so tired of that question. We're not porting this to Android. We're not making a fan game.
There'll be a test.
Someone brought this to my attention a little while ago, saying like, "Oh, someone is porting our levels to Android." That's fine. I don't care. Like, this is a framework. We're putting this out here for you to change and do your own shit with. That's the purpose. That's the point of this. It's okay. If someone ported our stuff to Android, that's fine. We're not going to do it ourselves. We actually knew about those ports long before it was brought to my attention. Some Russian developer was working on it, which was really cool. We don't mind at all. We thought it was really cool, and we were actually very honored that someone would take the time to port our stuff to Android. We don't know why, but you know, it's something they wanted to do, and if it helps them, you know, become better or helps them get into game development, then more power to them. That's totally okay with us. But oh, excuse me. Please, for the love of God, stop asking us to port to Android.
Wait, Fizz, we can't just let anyone develop a fan game, though. Remember, like if we make our framework too easy to work with, we're going to it's going to become a level editor that anyone can work with it and just make trash fan games. That's a huge problem, right?
I don't want to get into that, Emmanuel. Probably runs like shit. It did run like shit, but you know, at least they tried. I'm not going to knock them for trying, even if it did kind of run like shit. But they wanted to do it, and they did it. So
it was a cool attempt. It
was an attempt. And I think, to an extent, they're still kind of working on it, just not as frequently as they used to. But, you know. At least they did it, and at least they, you know, achieved what they wanted to achieve with it. If they did, you know. But I don't know. I believe they were Russian, so I honestly couldn't tell what they were doing. Because, you know,
you say that like...
I can't talk to them.
Say that like... See Russia as if like you literally can't understand like the contents of the screen.
Well, yeah,
like the video itself.
I don't know what their goal was because you know they couldn't communicate it to me because you know I don't know if they were capable of speaking English. I also didn't dig into it and I didn't look into it at all because why would I need to? It's not my business what they do with our project. I've given everyone free reins to do what they want. It is no longer my business once it is in your hands. Unless you want to specifically share it with me, it's no longer my business.
But if you were to remove Big the Cat, then Fizz will have problems.
I will have a huge problem if you remove the Big the Cat. Then it becomes my business. Okay. That's not to say don't share your stuff. Like you can share your stuff with us if you want. I will totally watch it. I will be excited to see it. But like I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Or how to do it, or you know, well, if you want to ask how to do something, I'll try to help what I can. But I'm not going to tell you what to do with your project. If your goal is make a shitty Android port, then make a shitty Android port. I'm not going to tell you not to.
Yeah, it's great if you're doing it. Jay Ninja, since you guys are just making a framework, I'd say that perhaps balancing isn't something you want to worry about too much. Balancing is mostly dependent on how the characters interact with levels, so you can't exactly control it.
That's true. And that is
good points.
That is something that we have discussed and talked about, and that is technically 100% true. However, one thing that we want to be able to do is have preset defaults, like have a default state that you can then adjust and work from there. Even though balance isn't really our problem at the end of the day, like you're correct, balance is really in the eye of the beholder, whoever is working on whatever it is they're doing right then and there. Like only someone working on their project can know what needs to be done to balance their project. Like that's really the case. Only someone who is actually working on their stuff knows how to balance for their stuff. However, having a default,
something that's just like
ground level
out of the box.
Yeah. So that way people who pick this up and they look at it go, wow, this is extremely balanced. Why would anyone ever need to do this, or why would anyone ever use this ability over that ability if it's not balanced, Something that's out of the box, ground level start one, like
it's just something you can throw levels together and
Yeah.
then expect everything else to work.
If you don't want,
decently well.
like what Reese is saying, if you don't want to mess with the balance of things, if you just want to make a level and expect things to function as they are, it would be nice if they did. That way you don't have to go in and balance things prematurely not prematurely. If you just don't want to do any balancing, if you want to use the preset balance, you can. That's the whole idea of us balancing things is if you don't want to have to worry about balancing, if you just want to make a level and use the default balance, then you can. But you're more than welcome to change it if you want. We're not going to care. Well, you guys are super cool, and I appreciate you reading my feedback and stuff. Yeah, I mean, we read all the feedback that we can. I've said it multiple times before, because this is a framework. This is not something that we are going to be using. It's something anyone can use. So everyone's feedback is important because everyone is capable of using it if they sit down and take the time to do so.
Yeah, within reason. Like if you think of it kind of like a real life engine. If we're trying to make an engine for people, we do appreciate the feedback. But if someone says, "Hey, I want this car engine to also like be a jet engine," then it's like, wait, that's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, there's some feedback that we can clearly take and use and consider. There's some feedback like add Tails' mech. We're not going to do that. We're not going to add Tails' mech.
The shit.
Not enough people are going to want to use Tails' mech to warrant that. If we had to choose,
Emmanuel quits.
If we had to choose between something most of everyone would most likely use and something super niche that hardly anyone's going to use, we're going to go with the former. So we can't sit there and take every single bit of feedback and be like, oh yeah, we're going to use this. We can't do that. That's,
Yeah, you're right.
That'd make the project even more bloated than it already is. But yeah, we tried to listen to all the feedback, and we appreciate it, and we want feedback. We want as many people to give us feedback as possible, just because, make Tails as a vehicle like the Shadow ones, add the treasure hunting, add cars. Why don't we, just add Big's fishing? Let's do that.
Let's just become Sonic World.
I mean, I remember I was going to make the thing where Big idles near water, he'll fish. Let's just turn that into an actual feature. Yeah. It'll just transition into a full-on blown.
Oh, I see how it is. I want to give Tails a cool mechanic. It's like, no, but you want to give Big a fucking fishing rod. It's like, all hands on deck.
Yep, that's what it is. We can't do Tails' mech, but big fishing minigame? Hell yeah, let's all do that.
Okay, I'm making my own video with Blackjack and Hooker, and that's going to be the name of the project too.
Project Blackjack and Hookers.
Without pay. But yeah, we're going on the 2-hour mark. I'm getting hungry. I've not eaten anything but cashews, so I'm gonna actually eat a little more cashews while I'm before I order some food.
Every time I hear
So-
the name of that food, it reminds me of that cartoon
Oh.
character. I don't know what cartoon character it is anymore.
Are you talking about
Mr. Peanut?
No, he's a small kid. He has a yellow shirt. Does he have a yellow shirt? Is it Cashew or something like that? Like,
Oh, I know the cartoon character you're talking about. You're talking about Satan, right?
I
He's
guess.
pretty famous.
I have no fucking clue what any of you are talking about. You guys have left my mind. My brain is no longer tracking what's going on.
We have left your mind.
All right, so we're gonna call it good here. Please give us feedback on what to do with the flight characters. That way we have a better idea on what everyone would like. There's a lot of different paths we can go. We just don't know which one would be the most ideal. So, whatever you guys think of would be really great. You should lay off the cashews. You'll go nuts with hunger. I rarely eat cashews. Like, I actually bought these yesterday for the first time in like months. But very funny pun.
Ah.
Haha.
No,
I was about to say if you didn't acknowledge the pun, I was gonna say just r/whoosh.
No, I saw the pun. I elected to ignore it though.
and then proceed to
Eat more nuts.
Eat more nuts.
But yes.
We're actually going to
guess
raid
that's it.
since we got quite a few people. I have a friend that's on, so let's go ahead and raid.
No.
How dare you raid on an official stream?
I know, right? So
What is this?
We're gonna raid Nini
promotion?
because Nini's actually playing Shadow the Hedgehog. So if you guys want to watch Shadow the Hedgehog, you can stick around for that.
We're not gonna raid Dream since I sound exactly like him apparently.
No. But
Oh,
thank you for
you're
everybody
not-
who joined in. We'll see you next time, which will be March 15th. Until then, we'll see you all guys next time.
Oh, cool.
Hell.
All right, see you guys.
Bye-bye.